Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot and welcome to our April Energy Refresh. So, this is one that I thought I would do closer to the 15th, but we kept having these concepts that came up. It seemed like they needed some focus. So, we're going to go ahead and jump into that April refresh today. And so, let's just see what comes out. Already saw some things starting to come out that were very consistent with some of the messages that we saw for April in the first place, starting to come out pretty strongly yesterday. So we'll see if any of those come back out again. This will be a general reading for this collective, so it won't resonate with everyone, shouldn't resonate with everyone, but if it does resonate with you, then by all means, look at some of the older ones. I say this every day, but I mean it. They're very much connected. So, if you hit subscribe, you'll find that there's kind of a story that's going on there. And so we're just kind of checking to see if those April messages are going to remain consistent. So looking first at just that energy of the rest of April, this is primarily going to focus on that underlying energy or that energetic and emotional backdrop that I sometimes talk about. So yes, it'll be the energy between the two of you, but it's really energy that's going to be acting upon the two of you. All right, so we've got the Father of Wind coming out here in the reverse. Father of Wind is like the King of Air. It's like the King of Swords in the reverse. So it's not necessarily thinking things through. Then we got the Emperor in the reverse, a tendency to want to control. Feels like it's a little bit out of fear. And let's see what I dropped on the floor here. Aha. All right, we've got a Five of Fire, which is like the Five of Wands. So that's a struggle. This is a little bit of intensity. Feels like it's setting up for the second half of the month, which we knew there was intensity. We've had that clarity and sort of open and welcoming kind of energy. We've had that 1 in a million shot sort of energy, but this is like the psychology around taking the shot, you know? I mean, there's some degree of action that seems implicit in this energy. And I get that not everyone is going to do something huge. Some of you may not even talk very much, but the energy is just swirling. We've seen that fast moving energy that's been coming up. We know that for the last month or two, you've been getting both of you have gotten the advice to go into the thinking cave, do a little bit of thinking. And your person got the recommendation to kind of go back. You guys also both got the, in this energy, the recommendation to stay open and not to limit yourselves. And, you know, something that came up in yesterday's reading, that just kind of reiterating, you've been told that it's time to let go of something, but it's something that, it's like that death card in the reverse, where it's hard to let go of something, but it's something that when you let go of it, you have something new growing in its place. It's not just it doesn't ultimately end up being loss. It ends up being growth. So we've got the Three of Cups here in the reverse, and this is where we feel like I had this come out, maybe it was yesterday, feeling like this is something moving over to make space for something else. That's definitely what I've got there. So you need to open the new thing that's coming in and let go of what is trying to leave. Also, then we have the Six of Swords in the reverse and the Page of Swords in the reverse. There's a lot of fear and a lot of a desire to, if I just don't start, then it can't be a problem, you know? And so there's kind of this concept of not starting something because of wanting to keep out of trouble. And the Six of Swords is saying that there's already, one of the reasons that desire to stay out of trouble is because it feels like there's that fast moving energy and just a lack of certainty and kind of I don't know if I want to create more variables at this time. That's kind of what's happening there. It's a desire to not have things get more complicated. But we've got the High Priestess here and messages coming out. Things are definitely getting more complicated. We've seen that over the last couple days where your person has been receiving some new truths, and those new truths are a little difficult for them to absorb into their worldview. This is not something that's easy for them, especially in this fast-moving energy. We've had a lot of potential for change for this month, and in some people's lives, we've seen that I've seen it showing up in the notes. I've seen it showing up a lot in the energy of the personal readings. A lot of personal readings talking about change. Also talking about like the change of shape. So the relationship between the two of you in some cases has really changed. I see this Two of Cups here, and I see some of it just kind of continuing to go in that direction. So for those of you who feel like you're actually in touch with this person, you're actually communicating, and you feel like you're getting away with something, you may continue to be able to get away from it for a little while, but I think you're going to start seeing a retraction of their emotional behavior, not necessarily a retraction of their energy. Okay, so this is, remember, we've had last year, we had these people that they would come close, and then when they went away, their energy would kind of stay close to you and they would retract anyway. This is that type of energy. It's the energy of retracting, but that energy really still staying close and remaining in partnership. So it might feel like certain things, certain elements of it just kind of never end. It also may feel a little bit like you're not in control of things, which is, I think, going to ramp up their desire to control, to be perfectly honest. And with this, this Father of Wind in the reverse, there's a lot of not really thinking it through and just kind of running headlong into things that may be very challenging. So that Five of Fire, that struggle sort of feeling. So here we have the Seven of Cups and, yeah, the Eight of Wands. Things finally start to slow down a little bit, but they don't exactly realize it. They're still out of breath emotionally, and I think you are too a little bit, because you may even, a lot of you have met another soulmate during the course of this month. So this isn't the only situation that maybe you're working through and trying to decide how you want to manage things. And this could be a soulmate that has come to you from your past, but has come in kind of at a little bit different of an angle. So it's even more complicated for you to kind of work through. It feels like the light filtering through an atmosphere and making some really amazing colors, but not necessarily easy colors to interpret. And with the Seven of Cups here in the reverse, this really starts to kind of, it lets you know, it adds to what I was just hearing, or what I was just seeing. This is a bunch of opportunity that you have that does not necessarily seem clear. Okay, so it's not clear what these steps are, what the next steps are. There's a lot of a lack of clarity about what those opportunities really represent, what they really, what could come of this. Like, it's difficult to say because everything feels too vague. There's a sense of vagueness, and a sense of wanting to control, that desire to control and tendency to, I don't know, it's like a blunt force sort of approach to things with the Five of Fire there. That makes it less finesse, and the finesse is needed. Here we have the Seven of Pentacles in the reverse. This is like a missed opportunity, but it's not like a missed opportunity like when the sun comes up in the reverse. This is more like a missed opportunity. There's an opportunity for investment that someone here doesn't take, and I think it's your person. They get scared. They get too scared to do something, and they decide not to move in a direction that it feels like they probably need to go. Oh, they're busy with something. There's something else is unfolding within their life. So we know that there's been change in their life, okay? And this is part of what's keeping them busy. And it seems like you may experience with this cycle with them, there's this cycle of communication, and then a certain way that they treat you, your response to that, their response to your response, etc. And then there's this separation, and then it starts over. Well, it's this time, they are overwhelmed by something else that is happening in their life. It is third party energy. It could be something that's happening in their household. It could be something that's happening at work, though. Some of them have some things changing in their job, or things changing in their livelihood that, even though they might also have things changing in their household, they might have things changing at work that maybe overshadow some of that. And so you might notice them having multiple third-party energies working upon them, where you've got some trouble in the family, trouble in the social group, trouble at work, trouble in the household. I mean, there's just so many things that could be potentially happening there, and I feel like they are feeling like it's coming from multiple places. If you're lucky, you are not sharing that, because there's a lot of parallel energy between the two of you, and then there's also a lot of shared. So let's take a look now to see a little bit more of just what to expect for the rest of this month. So far we're seeing kind of a lot of the same concepts that we were seeing earlier in the month. There's been a lot of fast moving energy. We do see it kind of slowing down, change happening, starting around the time of the eclipse. And I can say that based on the notes that I got from you, I can confirm the changes really started to pick up around the time of the eclipse. We've got a new perspective that comes out though with that Hanged Man. I like that because this signifies growth. You know, some of you are having a conversation with your person, and even if what you learn has very little to do with what you actually talk about, there's something here about the partnership. Something that's the Lover's card, and it's in the upright. This is something moving forward, falling into place for you. And it's about that Lover's card. It's about that energy between the two of you, and it has to do with this new perspective. So it's like some of you are going to have a conversation, and you know the conversations, it's likely, and it's likely to go well. So conversation with them is likely, and it is likely for that conversation to go well, and maybe even better than usual, despite what you typically hear from a Mercury retrograde, that it often results in misunderstandings as, you know, people try to come into your life to right some wrongs. This type of energy definitely could yield some misunderstandings, but there's also there's a sense of presence of mind. We've seen an increasing awareness, self-awareness within your person in the times that I've been doing these readings, and particularly I would say in the last few months. And one of the things that I will say is they are aware of themselves enough not to necessarily fall to this. It's like not being aware, they can see from above that they're doing some sort of behavior that doesn't necessarily do anyone any good, and they're actually able to kind of take the edges off of it. You know, I mean, they're actually able to do a little bit better. So you see fewer of the misunderstandings. Conversation could go really well, but what you learn from that conversation may not be relevant to what the conversation could be about something different. And what you learn is that you now are able to be a little bit more distant. Your response time changes, let's say. You feel a little bit less anxious, wondering if they're going to respond to you than you did in the past. It's an opportunity to learn how far you've come and maybe how far you haven't come. If you don't hear from them, and here's the how far you haven't come. So we've got the if you don't hear from them, you still have kind of some of the same lessons that you get to kind of choose from. So we've got the Hanged Man here in the reverse. This is coming up in the reverse. We already have it here in the upright. And I was just talking about lessons that you've learned and lessons that you maybe still have yet to learn. So this signifies those edges. And sometimes that's the way I talk about it, where you can see the edges of your learning when you get into a situation that tests you a little bit. So this goes separately here. Yep, here's our Death card in reverse. Death card in reverse leading us to an Eight of Cups in reverse. All of that kind of relevant to this Judgment in reverse. So what this is, the Death card in the reverse is that unwillingness to make a change like I was talking about earlier. It's an unwillingness to let something end that will basically make room for something new to grow in its place. But it's difficult for them to see that right now, and difficult for them to lose what they feel like is stability that's associated with something that currently exists. It's going to require them, and this is one of those difficult truths that they're kind of up against right now, it's going to require them to sort of think differently about how to go about making themselves happy, because this is someone who's walked into a situation, who's worked themselves into a situation intentionally because they thought that this was something that was going to make them happy. They've got a situation that they have set up for themselves that they thought would bring them happiness, but that hasn't brought them happiness. And so now they realize they kind of have to go back to the drawing board, back on that quest, and that feels like a lot of work to them. And I'm not going to lie, it feels like a lot of work to me too. But it's worthy of their effort and their time, because right now they're seeing a lot of, like we were talking about yesterday, a lot of disappointment within themselves, a lot of just kind of not feeling like they've made all of the right choices, dissatisfaction with the direction that they've gone with some things, and just not really being able to reconcile that. But there is something about your energy that is helping them reconcile that. We've got the Lover's card in the upright coming up twice here. We've seen an awful lot of it in the reverse here. And it's been about not feeling like they've had choices. So I'm not saying they suddenly have choices, just because this Lovers card is in the upright. But what I will say is that some change is happening as a result of that. This energy is bringing you that fast moving energy that feels a little bit overwhelming to both of you, but maybe in slightly different ways, has brought some pretty significant change along with it. It's brought change, but it's been something that doesn't immediately feel comfortable. Takes a little getting used to. Let's see what I dropped here. Okay. If I drop it face down, then it's just another opportunity to have to bend over and pick something up, right? Let's see what else it looks like for the rest of April, because I think we started out with a pretty solid message, as we've been discussing, but then we've also had a lot of things happen. This is one of the reasons that I like to refresh the energy. When I first came out, I always used to think, gosh, I just have to refresh it every month. But of course you should. It's going to be something that is constantly shifting. And even though those things that happened at the beginning of the month might still be true, having seen some of the shifts along the story could be helpful. So this is where there is maybe a little bit of uptake of those truths. This is something that's very difficult to do. It's hard to get their mind wrapped around it. It's hard to get okay with the concepts that are coming out in this, like when they go into their thinking cave. They have a lot of difficult pain that they don't know how to get past, and they've kind of been glazing over it and not getting past it. They've used other things to make them not have to deal with it, not have to confront it, and really to be able to avoid it. But that has ended up being ultimately a little bit self-destructive because they've not learned how to address these issues. You're giving them some of that opportunity to do so, but it's difficult for them. It's like their eyes adjusting to the light. It's very difficult for them to get there at first. There is a sense of guidance here, though. I sense that there's guidance here coming for both of you. May not come in the same form, whatever it is, and it may not be new, but something that suddenly becomes very helpful, suddenly becomes very well aligned with you. It's like if you were listening to these readings and they kind of, had fallen off the rails for you a little while, didn't know if you were part of the collective or not, and then all of a sudden they snap back into place and you realize, oh, yeah, I'm back on this timeline, or I'm back on. And the thing is, we definitely have people that ask sometimes, how do I know where I am on the timeline? How do I know if I'm part of the collective? This is something that honestly you will only be able to answer for yourself, but hopefully these readings give you something to think about as you consider that. So for sure, I hear a lot about people saying, they suddenly started resonating for me very strongly. This is that kind of energy, but it might not be me. It could be somebody else, and it could be somebody relevant to your person. It could be both of you having that experience, but this is information that suddenly starts to resonate. When that happens, avail yourself of it. Take advantage of that. Make sure that you take some extra time with it, put it into your prayers, put it into your meditation, sit with it for a little while in that thinking cave. Definite potential for change, but this is change that, even if it feels like a downward movement for now, that's a Ten of Pentacles. It comes out feeling very much like you win in the end. Even if it starts with a downshift, it ends up upward. Then we've got the Queen of Wands. So there's a lot of passion that's kind of been clouding your person's perceptions here lately, and a fear of losing ground, fear of losing stability that has come up. And this is something that I feel like has been just really prominent in these last few readings. This passion is difficult for them to work around. And yeah, this is the sort of thing where you're going to see rapid movement from this person. And we saw this in the Be Careful What You Wish For reading yesterday, because that was, remember, I had thought I was going to do the April reading earlier, but it was imperative that I look into some other things that felt like they might be pressing energies. So the pressing energy is that things are pretty intense right now within your person, and you may see some behavior from them that you realize feels like it's very sudden and unhealed. sudden and unhealed and doesn't necessarily have any other outlet. So we've got the Ten of Wands, the Devil in reverse. The Devil in reverse is signifying some of that kind of unhealed energy, and then the Ten of Wands in the reverse is things breaking down because there wasn't really a better direction for it to go. It's kind of what it feels like to me. That's a very almost a shocking sort of energy, surprising sort of energy. So we saw that in yesterday's extended. If you saw that extended, it was one worth watching. If you're not if you don't watch all of them, that was a good one. I'll put the link down below just in case anybody's interested in checking back into it. But there was this sense of, it's the reason that I named the video, the YouTube video, Be Careful What You Wish For, because it really started to flesh itself out in the extended and help us understand. I was getting into the questions because I just want to make sure there wasn't anything too scary, you know, and it's not real scary, but it is super intense. Let's go ahead and go into the you portion of this one. I think I'm going to not extend today's reading. I think I'm not going to extend this. But let's look at you and what you need to be focused on for the rest of the month of April, and where your efforts will be best served. Where you will be best served by putting those efforts. So you've got the High Priestess. That is sitting and just accepting the lessons as they come in. So that's meditation. That's prayer. Communing with your higher self, communing with your higher power, and take the time to do that. That's going to be well worth your while. It may be right along with getting into your thinking cave. Okay, so the other thing, we've got the Father of Earth in the reverse. Look for that voice inside yourself that sometimes says things that are really detrimental and kind of cruel. The one that says you're not good enough, or any variation thereof. Some of you, your voices get a little bit crafty and don't say the obvious things and are saying some other things that are, you know, dragging you down in other ways. So you have a decision to make, and it's time for you to go ahead and decide what kind of role you're going to play in that inner conversation. You may have a new soulmate that's working on you right now. Many of you do. Some of it is friends. Some of it is more of a new relationship kind of thing. For many of you, this is someone who feels like a friend to you right now, and there hasn't been any real romantic indication just yet, but heads up, that may be coming, whether you like it or not. So it's just something that you may want to be aware of. But they're going to be helping you to work through the things with the inner voice, and they're going to be pretty direct about it, it feels like. However, it also looks like it's going to work with this Three of Pentacles. That's pretty promising. I like the way that that's coming out. Okay, so we also have the Chariot. The Chariot is saying this is time for you to move forward on some things that maybe have been hanging out on the back burner for some time. Healing with somebody, moving to a place where you need to align with somebody or have a talk. This is an important conversation. May not be with your divine masculine, maybe with this soulmate, maybe finally figuring some things out after a long time. And with the Five of Swords here, there's a fear that you are able to be vulnerable about and admit that is still there. I feel like in the course of this situation, whether it's in this conversation or not. Okay, so we also have the Knight of Cups here in the reverse. There's something that no matter how much you try to express it, it defies easy expression. I will say that. It's something that's difficult to get across. Don't despair. You'll have another opportunity. Okay, I dropped one there. It was face down. Yeah, you'll have another opportunity to say this thing that seems like it's not coming out right. So don't work on it. Don't repeat yourself too much, or do anything that detracts from the meaning. So now you have the Knight of Pentacles. Okay, so this is that tendency to do things that will be awkward or detract from the meaning of your words. Just be mindful, and that's going to cut down on some of that. It won't cut all of it out, but it'll cut some of it out. Your meditation practice will help you with that, and you are ready to move forward. So there's something here where I feel like you're going to know pretty much you're ready to move forward with something. A lot of that change with the fast-moving energy this month has brought you to a place where, yeah, you've wrapped up a cycle. Something is different about you. And that's very real. People can tell, other people can tell that something has shifted in you. It feels like it kind of came into being around the time of the eclipse, but you'll be seeing it solidifying now and toward the end of this month. So, again, I feel like you get a little bit of that ability to slow down time, but you're plagued a little bit with the concerns around self worth. You'll see a little bit of that coming in. Just like, so we've got that, we've got a lot of pentacles in the reverse, a lot of things where you're talking yourself into a place where it almost feels like a perception that is negative. We've got the equivalent of a king, the queen, the knight, and now the page of pentacles, all in the reverse. There is a lesson here for you that is presenting itself bold as day, except it may not be obvious what the lesson is. You might think it's a different one. So watch for something being a little different from what it seems. And let's see if we can get kind of a cherry on top with this oracle card here. Yeah, the Aspen Spirit, courage. Okay, so this is just like I was talking about with your person, where they've got some scary truths that it's scary to them. Truths that are coming out in their thinking when they go into their thinking cave and they feel really uncomfortable about it. It takes some time for them to absorb that. You may also have that, and it may be influencing some of these pentacles being in reverse. So this is a place where you may be a little bit harder on yourself and hearing that inner voice a little bit more frequently than you usually do. Be patient with it, look for it, weed it out, and make a decision to go in a direction. This is a time that you're capable of doing that. April's good for you. You're coming from a good place as far as your energetic support has been good, and it looks like you're heading to a good place. So interesting to see how this will play out across the rest of the month. I think we'll pick up on the story tomorrow, and we're going to look a little bit more into this third party and the details that are happening there, because it's driving some real interesting behaviors in your person. So let's see what's happening with them that is impacting you. So thanks for being here with me, and I'll see you again in tomorrow's reading.